Hello again and welcome to the Morning Mondays. This is episode 62. This week, guys, I have completed the heavy weapon teams that I need for 3rd platoon, which is really big because it's a few milestones here, guys. It's actually a bit of a big episode. So, first thing to say is I have effectively doubled the amount of proper long-range anti-tank that I have in my army. Up until this point, the only long-range anti-tank that I had was 2 missile launchers and a las cannon, and that was in 1st platoon. They were the first heavy weapons that I actually did. First 3 squads that I did for the Mordians, I believe, the line infantry squads were those 3, and it was a las cannon and 2 missile launchers. And then I went through, then the second half of 1st platoon was assault squads, and then all of 2nd platoon was assault squads, and then for 3rd platoon I did heavy bolters and autocannons for heavy weapons. So it's not until we've got to this point where I've actually given myself some proper long-range anti-tank punch. Really, really glad, because I have definitely noticed the lack of long-range punch. If you've watched some of the Mordian battle reports that I put out recently, my turn 1 tends to be very weak. Just moving forward onto objectives, taking ground, doing the right thing for 9th edition, but actual damage output, not great. This should hopefully start remedying that. Between the 3 extra heavy bolters, the 3 autocannons, and now the 3 las cannons that I've got in 3rd platoon, we are starting to add some proper punch. Heavy bolters are damage 2, autocannons are strength 7, las cannons are just beastie. So yeah, really needed this extra bit of anti-tank, and now we've got it, which is great. A couple of other things to say is these were definitely, to date, the roughest heavy weapons that I've had to work on. In fact, some of the roughest models. Overall, I would say 3rd platoon has actually been a very rough platoon. What I mean by that is the models were some of the oldest in my collection. Many of them were eBay rescues. So either they've been glued together and painted by 11-year-old me, and let me tell you, I use far too much paint and even more far too much glue. Or they were eBay rescues, and a lot of the time when people flog guardsmen on eBay, they've built them and painted them very quickly and shoddily, and then just put them on eBay when they're finished with them. So these were some really rough models. To give you an example, the 3 tripods that these las cannons come with, all of them were broken in multiple places. In fact, the 2 tripods that I have were made up from the component parts of those 3, because they were all at least broken in 3 different places, with legs being snapped off and just really bad. One of those tripods was so unsalvageable that I just got rid of the bits I couldn't use, used the ones I can. I mean, if you look here at the beginning, from our perspective, the front left foot, that's had to be glued on there, I believe. So it's been really rough. And one of them was so unsalvageable that I just couldn't use it. I just couldn't use it. So that's why one of the las cannons in this photo, the one that's coming up, that I built sandbags for it, because I didn't have any other way. Now, in terms of the gun, you'll notice there's gun shields missing on these las cannons. Again, all of them were snapped in various places. Some of the bits I'd lost. Some of them were just warped. The one gun shield that I have, if you notice, it's actually, I don't know how to describe it, but the front of it isn't smooth. It's really like, I don't know if it was me that took a standing knife to it, or if it was the way I had it. I think it was the way I had it. But it's been overly scraped with a Stanley knife, essentially. So and on the back of it there is no symbol. You know how on the gun shield you've always got the eagle and then sort of the skull and the laurels? There's no skull and laurels on this one. It's been scraped off. So it's really just old, battered las cannons. And so I'm quite proud. It did take me 2 weeks really to salvage these guys. Because I spent a bit of time last week on the officer, but it took me a lot of last week salvaging these models, coming up with solutions to how broken they were. But I have said there will not be a single model left behind. I will, and I've kept to that so far. And we're closing on 300 models, some of which were really badly battered, and I've not had to throw away a single one of them. I'm going to restore them. This is a restoration project, guys. No matter how low some of these models are sunk, they're going to be brought back to their former glory. So obviously, a couple of things to mention. It's not perfect, so some of the las cannons do have damage that I can't do anything about, despite my best efforts. So you'll notice there's a notch in the barrel of one of the las cannons, and like I said, the feet, some of them are pretty pretty broken. No power packs either. No las cannon power packs. I do have some las cannon power packs, but they're for currently unbuilt las cannons. So if I use them here, I won't get to use them for those las cannons. So essentially, I don't have any spare. But yeah, obviously, like broken. A lot of the reason why these some of these las cannons aren't manned, like one of them isn't manned. That's because the arms and the manning and the handles were just so far gone. That's actually the handle there is actually from the Torx Prime Stubber kit, I believe, Stormbolter kit, or it's either the Chimera or the Torx Prime one. But either way, it's so it gives you an idea how battered and broken some of these models were. I think they've scrubbed up quite nicely. I know the sort of one criticism I would have of the non-gun shield ones is that they look a bit, it's just like a big block of gunmetal, isn't it? It's a big block of silver. My kind of way I've convinced myself, the kind of way I've got around it and I've come to peace with it is, number one, if you look at historical weapons, they don't tend to be in multiple different colours. Like, this is the thing I've been learning about action. Like, your anti-tank guns are all like one colour because that's what they were. They just paint them in one colour. So, yeah, I happen to have mine in bare gunmetal. They've not been painted. Fair enough. The other thing I would say is I've kind of, I've built the sandbags for one. That's pretty unique. That draws the eye away from just the big block of silver. And on the other one, I've built the brick wall. So just going through those bits. So the sandbags I just made. I made out of milliput. It was really easy. Didn't take very much time at all. Are they a bit rough and ready? Yeah, absolutely. Does it matter in a sea of 300 guardsmen? Not really. So, it'll look cool. I was pretty happy with the way they came out. I've got some good experience with doing sandbags now. I'm actually thinking of, especially with some of the mortar teams, going back and adding lots of sandbags to some of the heavy weapon teams that I know are going to be used only as heavy weapon teams. So that should be pretty cool. And then, yeah, like I said, it's milliput. So I literally just got an oval of got some milliput, rubbed it together, mixed it together, squashed it between my thumbs, rounded it out, and then got a standing knife and did a line all the way around. And it worked pretty well. Simple, yet effective. The brick wall is actually made out of... what I painted the sandbags is black undercoat, couple of layers of Talon sand. I believe it's still called Talon sand. It's the tan one. Zandri dust. It used to be called Talon sand. It's now called Zandri dust. And then washed it in Seraphim Sepia. Same colour scheme that did in all my Steel Legion, so I knew that would work okay. The brick wall was a different story. Okay, the brick wall was a different story. I've always wanted to do like some brick walls and stuff, but I didn't know how to, I didn't want to buy it and stuff. So it's just cut up sprue, guys. It's literally, I didn't even like try and make the sprue square. I thought, nah, don't worry about it. It's going to be a ruined brick wall. It doesn't really matter. So I just chopped up loads and loads of bits of sprue, and I've done this before. So like all my Gene Stealer cult, I've got little crystals on the bases to represent little Tiberian crystals because they're it's a Brotherhood of Nod themed, Command and Conquer themed army. So I knew there's a lot you can do with those spare sprues. I've done a lot of work with spare sprue bits before, and I thought, you know what, it actually makes quite a good, ruined brick wall. And so I literally just got them, stacked them up, made it a bit random, and just made it look quite cool. So that's I know it looks like chopped up sprue. I'm under no illusions. The sandbags look like little baguettes. Like I'm under no illusion, but I think they look totally tabletop fine, and I'm happy with them being tabletop quality. So the brick wall, yeah, that was pretty cool. In terms of the paint scheme of the brick wall, it was a black undercoat, and then I was worried they were going to, and the reason I did a black undercoat rather than like a yellow undercoat is because I was worried they were going to come across too bright. So I did a black undercoat and then did like 2 or 3 layers of quite a bright orange. I used Troll Slayer orange because that's just what I had. But then to get over that, I did 2 thick layers of Nuln oil. Like no Agrax Earth shade here. No Seraphim Sepia here. We want them to look dirty brick walls. We really want to bring the tone of that orange down. So I did 2 or 3 layers of Nuln oil, and it worked pretty well. And the cool thing about the Nuln oil is you can see it pooled in all the corners, in all the holes where the sprue bricks didn't line up because they're not perfectly square, and it filled those gaps in when it dried because I did 2 thick layers of Nuln oil, and I think it worked really well. So that's what the painting and hobbying side the way I was originally going to run these was I was thinking of having a lads kind of heavy weapon team. I've kind of cooled off on that idea for two reasons. One a tactical, one a hobby. The first one is these three heavy weapons, because of the work that had to go into them to restore them, look very distinct. And having them in a squad of three doesn't quite look right. You know, one's behind some sandbags, one's behind some brick, one is traditional out in the open with the gun shield. I think if I was to do it again and I wanted to use them as a las cannon anti-tank squad, I would have them all with sandbags or all with brick wall, or if it had been possible, you know, all with gun shield. It wasn't possible, but if it had been. So that's, you know, how I would do it. So actually how I'm going to do this, so I'm going to actually put them in the infantry squad. So the last three infantry squads you saw me do with the autocannons, they're actually going to go from melter gun autocannon squads to melter gun las cannon squads. Tactical reason for that is twofold. One, las cannons and melter guns go well together. They're two dedicated anti-tank weapons. Yes, they've got different ranges, but I tend to be aggressive and move forward with mine anyway, so I don't mind. But secondly, las cannon anti-tank teams, it's a big target. They're obvious to shoot, and if there's no point in me building 3 extra las cannons to boost my anti-tank to put them in a squad of 3, which is going to die to some pretty pitiable firepower and be back to square one and not have any additional anti-tank at the beginning of the game. So the autocannons, I don't mind them going in their own separate squad. I've had autocannon heavy weapon teams before. They're cheap. You don't really care if they die. They put out just enough firepower to be pretty good, and they're actually quite a good target for concentrated fire from the greater good, because it lets you put, you know, get +1 to hit with those autocannons is really good. Gets around the fact they've only got 2 shots each, and then +1 to wound means all those strength 7 shots actually start wounding things on 3s. You know, rather than 4s, which is what you tend to have when you shoot autocannons at things. If you shoot autocannons at their intended target, like light vehicles like Harlequin skimmers, I know I keep banging on about Harlequins, guys, but it's still really good because it means that they actually wound those on 2s, which is actually a really effective. I actually really, a lot of people, when a lot of people are using mortar teams, I've been using autocannon heavy weapon teams where I can, and I've been pretty impressed with them when you can use concentrated barrage on them. Yeah, mortar teams are obvious. Las cannon teams are obvious. They're high priority targets for your enemy to kill. Autocannon teams, your enemy doesn't seem to worry about them too much. It's interesting, but they do solid work. They're good old slug throwers. You know, they only have to put a couple of wounds through each turn, and they're just knocking 2 to 4 wounds off. Can't go wrong for 51 point squad. So that's sort of the hobbying and the sort of tactical side of that, sort of what we painted this week covered. More anti-tank, great sort of experience with the hobbying. Really happy with how they came out. In terms of looking forward, there's 2 exciting things to announce. So this first exciting thing to announce is I have actually I had a load of bits of like Cadian. I don't know how it happened, but essentially I thought I only had 1 veteran squad's worth of bits ready to be built that I'd stripped down and everything. Actually, turns out I had 32 infantry that I had stripped down, and for 32 plastic cages I had stripped down. So I actually had 3 squads. So I actually spent some time this weekend building those back all together. So not only have I got the plasma veteran squad for 3rd platoon ready to go, which is great, I also have another 22 infantry, which is I can either make a veteran squad with some flamers or some snipers, or I can make an aligned infantry squad. It's a mixture, but the long story short is, guys, I've actually had quite a productive, in terms of the restoration of the actual models and not just the painting. I've got 32 infantry sort of nailed, which is pretty good. So the plasma veterans are built, they are restored, they just need a base coat, and they are good to go. So that I might be working on my plasma veterans next week. These last guns will take it out of me, so I might give myself an easier task. But point is that the veterans are good to go. So in terms of what's left for 3rd platoon, it's to mirror the other 2 platoons. It's just the veterans and the auxilia. Then, which I have 2 weeks to get the veterans and the auxilia stuff done. Now the plan is, the original plan for this squad was to have ratlings for the auxilia. With Christmas deliveries and everything, and I'm not sure if I'm getting ratlings or any Warhammer I'm getting for Christmas, if I get any. Tend to get a little bit because people that I know I like Warhammer. But not sure So what I might do is actually I have a little squad of 3 word vein psychers that need painting up. Now I know the Mordian 50 rifles are not meant to use psychers. Okay, I know this, but 2 things. 1, I need to restore every model in the army. I own psychers, unfortunately. I own 6 word vein psychers. We'll call them weird veins, they're weird vein psychers. So I need to paint them up at some point anyway. Every model has to get painted, I need to paint them up. Now I believe I have 3 good to go, but I think I have 3 more that need doing as well. So I might paint those 6 up. Now that, that's what but if I do that, what I'll do is I'll paint them up and I'll paint a commissar up. Because basically one of the commissars, that'll be the auxilia, the weird vein and the commissar. So if they go funny, you can put a bolt in them. So I might paint that. That might be quite cool. 6 weird veins and a commissar would be pretty cool to paint up. The other thing to say is I need to do the command squads. Sorry, brain fart moment there. So once I've done the veterans and the auxilia, I want to go back and to properly do the command squads for the first couple of platoons and also the 3rd platoon. I have the flags done, and when I did the Winter's Battle Report, I was able to jammy together some command squads. But I actually want to do them properly and not pull them together on an ad hoc basis, but have a dedicated command squad for each platoon. So I've got the 2 flags done already. What I want in each one of my command squads is the flag, the medic, the musician, and the platoon marksman, which will be a sniper. Now I have 3 snipers good to go, and I've already got 2 flags done, and there are 2 musicians already done in the 53 rifles. So what I need to do is I need to do a couple of guardsmen to replace musicians which are currently in line infantry squads. I need to do another flag. I need to do another couple of guards to replace the medics, which are currently just in a couple of infantry squads, just as line fillers. And then also put together another medic and another musician for 3rd Platoon's command squad. So that will be coming up. That was for what we're working on the new year. So start of the new year, I'm going to be focusing on some command squads, which will be cool. So yeah, the idea is by sort of the as the new year breaks, first beginning of January, the plan is like to have all 3 platoons. By the end of this year, I'm going to have all 3 platoons done to mirror each other, and then January, I basically want to get my command squad sorted out. And so first thing, going into 2020, I can say I have 3 fully completed, no bits missed out platoons, which would be really cool, because I also want to do a special weapons squad for each platoon as well. And I have a lot of the special weapons already painted up. I just need to paint some extra guardsmen. So the plan is by end of this year, I'll have 3 platoons that match each other. By the beginning of the year, beginning of 2021, first month down, I'll have 3 fully fleshed out platoons, and then I can move on to 4th platoon properly, and every platoon will be at the same point, at the same stage, because I'm trying to make sure that I don't cut any corners. I don't want to cut any corners. So that's really cool. So the last thing to mention, a big long video today, guys, but the last thing to mention is this is a real milestone. Completing the squad is a real milestone. Okay, why? I now have enough models painted to run a pure infantry, no auxilia, no ogrins, no bullwins, just pure basic infantry, pure line infantry. I have enough models now fully painted up to a pure infantry 2000 point Imperial Guard force. That is awesome. It will be 230 models. Now, because the plan would be to, the reason it's not 240, because I actually am meant to have 80 guys per platoon, but I haven't got the veterans done yet, and actually, in terms of the points, when I add it all up, I can't even afford the veterans. Now, the reason for that is the current build of the Mordian 50 rifles contains a lot of fluff upgrades, a lot of sergeants with power swords, a lot of officers with power fists and power weapons, and plasma pistols all over the place. And so the current build is very inefficient, but the point is I can put 230 infantry down on the field. It won't be super efficient, but I can do that. I can now play a pure infantry 2000 point, no filler units, not having to take up 400 points worth of Bulgarians or anything like that. I can just take 230 infantry, 3 priests, 3 Lord Commissars, 3 company commanders, 3 platoon commanders, 180 line infantry, and 3 heavy weapons and a couple of veteran squads. Now I actually have a really solid force built. If I want to run, but what I also now have is, as I mentioned last week, I have options, because if I want to, I can run less infantry and take more Bulgarians. But I'm kind of at this cusp now where if I go down the sort of has been the sort of traditional 8th, beginning of 9th edition pure infantry army, which includes the Bulgarians and the Ogrins, I now have loads of weapon options. If I want to go down the pure infantry route, I'm sort of still stuck in this, well, I've got to take what I've built. But it's not too bad because I've still got 230 blokes. Well, I've got 230, but I've still got about 50-ish points left over. So I'm going to see what I can get painted up, move some models around, move some points around, and see if I can get that 3rd veteran squad in. Even if it's just 3 veterans with, a veteran squad with 3 snipers in or something. That's, something like that. So I can say 240, 80 per platoon, boom, boom, boom. Anyway, guys, big old long video. But lots to talk about, lots of hobbies, lots of tactical stuff. Cannot wait for the UK lockdown rules to be revised. Hopefully things are going to start getting relaxed because we've got the vaccine now and we've been in big old lockdown for a while as well, proper lockdown for a while. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to come out of the gate with a really strong Mordian army. 230, 240 infantry, good to go. That's exciting. I hope you guys are excited. Anyway, without further ado, we'll finish this video now. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.